Welcome back again, everyone, to the next part in my Higurashi When They Cry playthrough. Going on to Chapter 6 of Tatarigoroshi-hen. So, let's go. It's gonna be super fun and not sad at all.
守りたいと思う心に嘘はなかった。大切にしたいと思う心は誰よりも強いはずだった。優しさから生まれた感情はやがて殺意へと変わり、真っ白だった思いは赤と黒で染まってゆく。それが守りたかった日常の崩壊を意味していると分かっていながら、たたり殺し、何が間違っていたのか、その答えを探して悲劇はさらに広がってゆく。
That's when you know it's gonna be a bit of an intense part. What a way to open, man. I love when that happens. I love how they do that. It's like build up for the first, almost half of the chapter, and it's like, hey, it's gonna get real now. Oh, she looks angry. Teacher's voice wasn't critical, but Rika-chan hung her head, unable to answer, and I felt really bad for her. The teacher called Rika-chan up, and they had an exchange in hushed tones at the dai. At first, Rika-chan said that Sakuto's fever had grown worse, but everyone in class knew it was a lie. Because every day, Rika-chan brought Satoko's bento with her.
Satoko-chan, どうしちゃったんだろうね。
俺が知るかよ。
I'm the one who wants to know most of all. It was already the third day since Satoko's first absence. Ever since then, I haven't felt good. Until just last Sunday, everything had been so much fun. I had reached out to Satoko like a real older brother, and we spent that time quietly, but warm and comfortable. So I had suddenly been flipped over. The more I thought about it, the more I thought that the world had taken a turn for the worse ever since Oishi arrived. Yeah, that guy sucks. Also, his music right now is fantastic. Thinking on it now, maybe the strange apprehensions plaguing me the night before Oishi arrived had been a sign. Hirado Oishi, Oyashiro-sama's servant.
くそ、そんなことあるもんか。あいつが現れたから、サトコが今年のタタリに会う役だなんて決められてたまるかよ。
Just what sort of slip-up had I committed to cause those fun times to end so suddenly? Yes, it was the day before Oishi appeared. Shion, Mion, and Rena had spoken of the curse surrounding Satoshi and his disappearance, and it was so sinister it gave me a bad premonition. Such a small thing was the slip-up that invited Oyashiro-sama's servant? It was absurd. I kept on groaning to myself that I would never accept it, ever. I obviously wasn't the only one suppressing my feelings. Mion and Rena were too. Everyone in the class was doing it. Rika-chan knew something about Satsuko's situation, but she wouldn't tell us. Rika-chan still held a calm attitude like a cat basking in the sun, but she was being unbelievably stubborn about this whole thing. She didn't want to tell us, and that wouldn't change no matter how many times we asked her. Everyone understood that, so nobody questioned her.
リカちゃんが言わないならさ、言うまで待つしかないよね。逆に言わないってことは、言う必要もない程度のことかもしれないし。
There was no persuasive power in reassurance given with an anxious face like that. Yeah, everybody's just like so on edge, and Rika just doesn't want to talk about it. I don't like it. Mion was being taciturn, and just looked up the sky with a somehow annoyed expression. I couldn't tell if she was unhappy that Rika-chan wouldn't talk about it with her own friends, or if she was concerned over Satoko's well-being. Probably both, man. And what about me? My anxiety was suffocating me day after day. If someone else were looking at me, then maybe I'd look annoyed, like Mion did. Tap, tap. Someone tapped my shoulder. Oh, it's the bros. It was Tomita-kun and Okamura-kun.
前原さん、ちょっといいですか？
またボールが引っかかったか？今度はお前たちで何とかしてみろよ。いつまでも先輩に頼るのは良くないぜ。
I didn't feel like going along with them, so I was a little unsympathetic with my response.
ちょっと気になる噂を聞いたんすよ。
Ooh, spilled the tea, kid.
はい、ひょっとすると関係があるかもと思って。
A rumor about Satsuko. They hadn't said that, but it didn't seem unrelated. They didn't want to talk in the classroom, so they pulled me behind the school building, lending further credence to that thought. The back of the school was damp and humid like always. Students didn't really come here because they wanted to. It might, however, have been the ideal location for trading rumors away from prying eyes.
富田君、岡村君、その噂話って、もちろん聡子の欠席と関係のある話なんだろうな。
関係があるかはわからないですけど、あるいは。
Come on, kids,
聡子
spill
は
it.
一体どうしたってんだ？風邪なのか？それともひょっとしてもっと重い病気か怪我か何かで。
いえ、それがむしろ逆で、うちのばあちゃんの話だと、昨日の昼にうちの店に豆腐を買いに来たらしいんです。
Oh, Tomito's family runs a tofu shop, added Okamura-kun.
豆腐屋さんに買い物？
My voice sounds so stupefied, even I can tell. It was understandable. I was worried about what grave illness or injury she had when the person herself had been out and about shopping for tofu.
で、聡子はどうだったんだよ？元気そうだったのか？それとも病み上がりでマスクでもしてたとか、松葉杖で包帯だらけだったとか。
And Keiichi's so worried. It's...
別に病気とか怪我とかそういうわけじゃなかったらしいんですが。
I should have felt relieved that it wasn't an illness or an injury, but my anxiety wasn't going away, because Tomito-kun and Okamura-kun's expressions weren't looking any better.
絹ごし豆腐を一丁買っていったそうなんですが、ばあちゃんが言うにはおかしいと。
おかしい？なぜ？絹ごし豆腐を買って何が悪い？
Irritated by how roundabout they were being, I had to desperately fight that irritation from creeping into my voice.
北条とフルデってほら二人暮らしでそんなにお金持ちってわけじゃないですよね。だから二人はいつも安い木綿豆腐しか買わないんです。
Oh, guess that...
一番高い絹ごし豆腐なんか買ったことないんです。
Interesting.
木綿だって絹ごしだってどっちも豆腐だろ？
Yeah, I never knew there was a difference,
たまには
honestly.
うまい豆腐が食いたくなっただけかもしれないじゃないか。
それはそうですけど。
I knew how transparent I sounded right then. This wasn't anything trivial, it was some kind of important clue. Not the cheap firm tofu, but the expensive soft kind. Shopping not in the evening after school, but in the middle of the day. I couldn't figure out what those things meant. As I thought hard about it, Okamura-kun took his turn to speak.
次は僕っすね。これも噂なんですけど、帰ってきたらしいんですよ。
帰ってきた？何が？誰が？
Talk about her
北条
uncle.
のおじさんが。
Alright, alright. It's when you know it gets real, man, when that music gets creepy. Sato's uncle. Right, I think Coach told me about him. Their aunt and uncle had taken them in after Satoko and Satoshi left their parents in the accident.
去年のお社様のたたりで怖くなって町に逃げたっていう北条のおじさんです。こいつヤクザみたいな怖くて乱暴なやつで。
Yeah, he sounds great. Everything Coach told me came back in bits and pieces. Right. The mean aunt and uncle who had tormented them all the time. I think he said that after their aunt was beaten to death by the deviant, he ran away to his lover's house in Okinomiya in fear of the curse.
そいつが帰ってくると、どうして聡子が学校を休んで真っ昼間に絹ごし豆腐を買う羽目になるんだ？
My underclassmen clammed up and looked downwards. There must have been some big hint buried in there. Even if I didn't understand, if I told Mia and Arena about it, maybe they'd know something.
ごめんな、二人とも。せっかく好意で話を聞かせてくれたのに、なんだか問い詰めるような言い方になっちゃって。
It's all cool, dude. You're just worried.
あ、いえ、いいっすよ。北条が重病で寝たきりになってないことが分かっただけでも、ほら、儲けもんじゃないですか。
That might be true, but it still won't. It won't make the clouds over my mind fade away.
あ、前原さん、ほらあれ！
Okamura-kun cried wildly, pointing over my shoulders behind me. Startled, I turned around, and way on the other side of the schoolyard, near the school gate, I saw a figure trudging forth. Oh no, oh no. She looks so bad. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, I feel so bad.
北条だ！
Perfect timing. I burst into a run faster than I could speak, so that as quickly as possible I could see with my own eyes that she was okay.
スタートゴー！
Satoko seemed taken aback by me shouting and running over to her.
まあ、なんですの、圭一さん。突然大声を出して走ってくるから何事かと驚きましたわ。
バカ、俺のことなんかどうでもいいだろう。それよりどうしたってんだよ、サトコ。俺心配で心配で。
Aw. Of course.
心配性ですわね。たかだか3日ですわよ。もう圭一さんは心配性なんですから。
From listening to her, she seemed like the normal Satoko, but I could tell she was clearly acting strangely. Her smile was somehow forlorn, and her complexion was bad for some reason. Yeah, she's definitely putting on a front.
北条、大丈夫だったのかよ。風邪とかじゃないのか？
Tomitsuko and Kumura-kun both expressed their
一
concerns.
体どうしたってんだよ。3日も俺がどれだけ心配してたか。
Bro, he was like
ごめ
super
んさま
worried.
せですわ。ちょっとお家のお掃除をしたりしてたんですのよ。だいぶ長いこと使ってませんでしたから、もう家中ホコリだらけでして。
サトコ、お前何を言ってんだ？
She's
なん
probably
で
getting
家の掃
forced
除
to
なん
do
かで
that too,
学校休ま
man.
なきゃな
I
んないん
hate
だ。
it. Satoko didn't answer me. Instead, she passed by me and headed for the entrance.
もう今はお弁当の時間ではありませんの？私はお腹が空いてますのよ。
It was certainly lunch break. I couldn't force her to stop after she told me she wanted lunch since she was so hungry.
まあいいや。リカちゃんは3日間毎日お前の弁当を持ってきてくれてるんだぜ。今日はちゃんと食べてやれそうだな。とにかく早く教室へ行こう。みんなを安心させてやろうぜ。
そうですわね。皆さんにご心配をおかけしてしまったかもしれませんわね。人気者は辛いでございますわ。
It's like I want to laugh a little bit, but I know she's just putting on a front and everything's just gonna be sad. I hate it. Oh, man. I put a hand on Satoko's shoulder and we ran to the classroom together. Up close, I was able to verify that Satoko looked somehow weak. All this anxiety was supposed to go away when I saw her again. That's what I had thought. But now I actually started to have quite different fears. What the heck happened, Satoko? Everyone in class, of course, reacted in the same exact way I had. We worried about you. I'm so glad to see you well. What were you doing for 3 days? Our classmates showered her in questions.
本当にご迷惑をおかけしましたわね。
As she cackled, she chowed down on the bento Rika-chan had made for her. Those in the teacher's lounge must have been informed of Satoko's arrival because our teacher sprinted into the classroom, her breathing ragged.
北条さん、
あら先生、3日間もご心配をおかけしましたわね。ご覧の通り元気でピンピンしてますわ。
もう本当に心配してたんですからね。お弁当が食べ終わったら職員室に来るんですよ。いろいろとお話があります。
3日もサボったからきっと大目玉に違いありませんわね。
She's doing the laugh a lot more. She's just trying to, like, push herself through it, man. Satoko laughed sheepishly while she scratched her head, and the rest of the class burst out into laughter. The teacher was acting angry, but she breathed a sigh of relief as seeing Satoko healthy and smiling as she ate her lunch with the class surrounding her.
でも安心したよな、レナ。
あ、ごめん。無事でよかったよね。
I looked at Rena and knew. She had a sense that something about Satoko was off too. I looked Simeon detached from the clamor as well, with a somewhat grim expression. But Rika-chan, on the other hand, was smiling from ear to ear. She spread out the bento boxes one by one as Satoko finished them. Finally, Satoko was satisfied, and after enjoying a thorough conversation with her classmates, remembered that she'd been called to the teacher's lounge.
めんどくさいんですけど、行かないともっと怒られてしまいそうですからね。僕も一緒に行きますですよ。
What a true bro. Satoko rises from her seat and Rika-chan runs over to her.
ごめん遊ばせ圭一さん。ちょっと怒られてまいりますわ。
おう。なんだったら俺も一緒に付き合うぜ。例のカレーの悪口の時、一緒に職員室で怒られた仲じゃな
Oh,
いか。
that's right. It was the three of them.
それには及ばないのです。圭一はここでお留守番なのですよ。
Rika-chan's words were gentle, but the firm rejection was clear in her eyes. The two of them exited into the hallway, walking shoulder to shoulder. After seeing them off, the class breathed a collective sigh of relief, broke apart, and went back to their usual lunch break banter. We, however, couldn't go back to how we usually were. Yeah, they all know something's up. Not I, not Mion, and of course not Rena. They stared at the classroom exit Satsuko and Rika-chan had left through, their expressions a little distant and grim.
俺たちは仲間だ。そうだろう、みんな。
I blurted out something strange, so Mion and Rena turned around with dubious expressions.
俺は仲間に隠し事はしない。だから、さっき聞いたばかりのことを言う。
Keiichi's learning. I told them the stories I heard from Tomita-kun and Okamura-kun earlier about the tofu shop and how Satsuko's uncle had apparently come back. All at once without letting them speak.
これが俺の知るすべてだ。だからミオンもレナも知っていることがあるなら話してくれ。俺は俺の知るすべてを話したぞ。
I ended my sentence firmly and looked into Mion and Rena's eyes in turn. Rena stared right back at me. Her eyes didn't falter. Without even opening her mouth, I could tell she wasn't hiding anything. Then our gazes turned to Mion. She's gotta know something, man.
私は隠して黙ってるわけじゃないよ。
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, her family runs the city, or runs the town, and probably just runs everything, man. The Sanozakis run everything here. Mion couldn't seem to endure our silent stares, and began to talk timidly, as if she was guilty of something.
でも、ケイちゃんが話したなら、私も話さないわけにはいかないよね。
みーちゃん、何か知ってるの？
いや、聡子のおじが帰ってきたっての、帰ってきた初日から知ってたよ。この間の日曜日に、ふらっとひなみざわに帰ってきたって。
どうしてそれを黙ってた？
Yeah.
ごめん。
Might have been a good thing to talk about, man. My angry shout caused Mion to flinch away, look down, and hang her head uncomfortably.
ケイチくん、怒るようなことじゃないよ。みーちゃん怖がってる。
あ、ごめん。つい大声を。
I lowered my head in apology. Mion accepted it, collected herself, and continued. According to her, her uncle's relationship with his lover, whom he had been with in Okinomiya, had collapsed. Without anywhere to go, he went back home to Hinamizawa. And on that Sunday, the day of the barbecue, her uncle ran into Satsuko and brought her back to the house. Oh man, right after the barbecue? Damn.
自宅になんで連れ戻すんだよ。
ろくでなしの怠け者だからね。自分一人じゃ炊事はおろか掃除一つできないし。
Pathetic.
そんな、炊事やお掃除のために聡子ちゃんを連れ戻したっていうの？
I remember that she said she'd been cleaning the house when I met her back at the school gate. A moment later, the pieces fell into place, into the jigsaw puzzle of unease. And as for what the puzzle depicted, when I saw it from afar, I could see the answer clearly.
聡子が家に閉じ込められて、いじめられながら家事をやらされてるっていう噂なんだよ。
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right. If you knew that, why didn't you speak up? I nearly yelled that at Mion, but hastily stopped myself.
みーちゃん、それ本当なの？
私がこの目で確かめたわけじゃないから、本当かどうかは知らないけど。
Mion looked down again, and staring at the floor, it grew quiet.
去年みたいに？意地悪なおじさん夫婦のところで暮らしてた時みたいに？
でもさ、そのおじさんって家事はからっきしなんだろ。聡子が重宝なわけだから、何もひどい扱いをしているってわけじゃないかもしれないだろ。
Keiichi, you poor sweet summer child. People like that don't need a reason to torment others. They do it for their own satisfaction.
何を根拠に言ってるのか知らないけど、いい加減なことは言わない方がいいよ。
Yeah. Renet clearly and directly got mad at me. You don't know much about this, so don't talk as though you do. Yes, that's clearly what she meant.
じゃあレナは知ってるのかよ。
私だって知らないよ。今ここで聞くまで、聡子ちゃんがおじさんの家に連れ戻されたなんて知らなかったもの。でもね、1年前とはまるで状況が違うの。
状況が違うってどういうことだよ。
Yeah, well, it's just the uncle, and Satoshi isn't there either.
サトシくんがいな
Yeah.
い。
He probably took the brunt of everything.
サトシはすごく妹思いのいい兄だったんだよ。いつもサトコをかばってた。意地悪なおじおばのとばっちりが少しでもサトコにかぶらないように盾になってくれてた。
家には意地悪なおじさんとサトコちゃんが二人きりなんだよ。それがどれだけ行き詰まるものか、ケイチくんにだって想像がつくんじゃないかな。
Yeah, it's gotta be rough. Let's go kick his
南
ass.
沢に
Like
帰ってきた理
immediately.
由だって一緒に暮らしてた相手が失踪して生活できなくなったからでしょ。そんな不愉快な理由で帰ってきた人がどうしてサトコちゃんに優しくできるっていうの？
Yeah, Keiichi, you can't really look all optimistic at this one. She was right. It wasn't easy for me to imagine Satsuko not being tormented.
ごめん。
こっちこそごめん。問い詰めるような口調になっちゃったね。
An awkward atmosphere floated among us. The three of us remained silent and just stared at the floor. Finally, we heard the principal's bell ringing. The teacher came back with Satsuko and Rika-chan at her side.
さあさあ、午後の授業を始めますよ。委員長、号令。
起立。
ごめんなさいね。失礼。
I couldn't read anything from Sato's vaguely sheepish expression, but given the clouded look Rika-chan was wearing behind her, it was tough to laugh off the disquieting story I'd heard from Mion. Yeah, it's definitely what's going on, man.
よーし、久々に全メンバーが揃ったからね。久しぶりにパーッと大部活で盛り上がろう
Yeah,
じゃ
there
ないの。
haven't been any club fun times for a while. Yeah, perfect. Indeed, in times like these, the best thing to do is obviously get rowdy and scheme against one another in a club activity.
望むところだよ。ねえ、サトコちゃん、やろうやろう。
サトコが好きだったゲームあるでしょ。ほら、なんだったっけ。なんでも構わないよ。言ってみ。言ってみ。
Mion laughed happily, took a bunch of games out of the club locker and lined them up on the desks. She's not gonna be able to stay. Like, I can already feel it. I think that was the first time Mion's ever let someone else decide on a game for her. I could tell she was being especially considerate to Satsuko. Thinking that whatever her circumstances, if we could just enjoy our time together as a group, that might be some comfort, some diversion. Satsuko seemed to understand her feelings too, and smiled vaguely, though pleased. But her head slowly moved from side to side.
ありがたいですけど、お気持ちだけで結構ですわ。いろいろしなければならないことがありますので。
Even Rika-chan hung her head in remorse.
おいおいおいおいおい、本気なわけ？部活メンバーが久しぶりに揃ったってのにお流れになっちゃうわけ？敵前逃亡は罰ゲームってのは快速第何条だったっけ？
The club constitution.
やめなよ、みーちゃん。無理に付き合わせちゃダメだよ。
別におじさんは無理強いしてるわけじゃないよ。
Yeah, she's got overly
大
excited.
盛り上がり
It
した方
happens.
が絶対に楽しいと思って。
本当にお気持ちだけで嬉しいんですのよ。ご安心なさいませ。次に戦うときは皆さんまとめてでっかい罠にはめてご覧に入れますわ。
Satsuko, while insulting us, still said she couldn't participate in the club today and apologized. She quickly put her things into her bag and pattered out into the hallway, disappearing. It all happened in the blink of an eye.
サトコ、
Rika-chan stared lonesomely as her friend hurried home, unable to be part of club activities. Silence filled the classroom. Both the cheerful voices of our classmates in the schoolyard and the voices of the cicadas sounded like they were coming from some faraway world.
つまんないの？
The silence was broken by Mion's bitterness as she began putting the games on the desk back into the locker. Everyone just stared absently at Satsuko's seat, now empty.
リカちゃん、そろそろ話してくれてもいいんじゃないかな。
Rena made a as gentle a smile as she possibly could and spoke softly to Rika-chan. Even without hearing it from her, we pretty much knew the situation at this point. Sato's uncle had broken up with his lover and come back home to Hinamizawa. More like she got broken up into lots of pieces. And he had taken Satoko back home and forced her to do all the household work. And that all had to be pretty rough on her. Thinking this was common knowledge to everyone, I skipped to the important part.
どうなんだ?
Maybe Mian and Rena wanted to ask the same question. Nobody spoke. We all just stared, waiting for Rika-chan's reply. Rika-chan still didn't answer us. We were hoping for her to say no, but her silence was a bad enough sign.
去年だっけおじ夫婦の元にいた時もこんな状況だったんだろ
うん。あの時は夫婦喧嘩のとばっちりみたいなのがほとんどだったからさ。こうして部活で時間を潰して家にいる時間を極力減らすのも一つの手だったんだけど、今は家事を強制されてるから。
Man, that sucks,
学校
man.
に残ることもできないんだね。
Yeah, like now it's Jilsur and not Satoshi to help out. Satoko's not a slave. Who do you think you are, ignoring your own inability to live properly and basically putting Satoko under house arrest?
常識的に考えてこんなのおかしいんじゃねえのか
Yeah, he's a bit of a
いろいろと
monster.
状況証拠は必要だろうけどこういうのって問題だろ警察とかに通報できないのかよ
そうだよね。証拠とかがあれば警察に通報できると思うよ。あるいはそういうのって沖宮の相談所の人とかに相談できないの？
Ren and I kept saying police, police as though it were nothing, but Mian's response sounded like she thought we were a little naive.
みんな簡単に言ってくれるけどさ、それを立証するリスクを考えたことある？
リスクってなんだよ
一昨年の冬かな。通報したんだよ。沖宮の相談所に。問題があるからすぐに何とかしてくれって。
そうだったんだ。それで？
電話してすぐに職員の人が来てくれたよ。で、聡子とか聡とかに事情聴取してた。ついでにおじ夫婦のところにもね。
聡子と聡に聞くまではいいがおじ夫婦にまで聞くのはまずいんじゃないのか
両者の意見を聞いて総合的に判断するんだとさ。
Don't like
ご
that.
立派ご立派。
That's no, man.
で、結果はどうだったの？
I hate that. Like,
様子見。
kids like don't get enough support when they're going through, abuse or something like that. They need more support from people just to get out of that situation if they can.
様子見ってなんだよそれ
That's always how it is.
おじさん、とっても勉強になっちゃったんだけどさ、法律ではね、暴行か育児放棄が認められなきゃ虐待とは言わないんだってさ。聡子も聡もよく小づかれてたらしいけど、別に傷跡が残るようなレベルじゃなかったし、3食の飯も一応食えてたし、寝床もあったし。
So they kept it just bad enough where it was abuse, but just quote unquote good enough to where the law wouldn't be against them.
心
Such
理
trash
的外傷を
people.
与える言動だって別にカセットテープで証拠があったわけじゃないし、実際村の人たちだって実際に乱暴してる現場は見たことないからね。いくら意地悪だからって人前で乱暴はしないでしょ、誰だって。
Mm-hmm.
で、その後どうなったの？
しばらくは毎週決まった日に担当の職員さんが訪問してたみたい。おじ夫婦も自分たちが見張られてることを気にして目立つ行動はしなくなったらしいけど、それで
Yeah,
済むわ
they're
け
not
ない
that
でしょ。
stupid, unfortunately.
より陰湿ないじめ方に加速していったってことだね。
Mian sighed and nodded.
おばのやつが特にねちっこくってさ、女特有の陰湿さっていうのかな、相当いやらしいことをしてたらしいよ。聡子、最後の方は呼吸するだけのボロ人形みたいだった。
What a freaking monster. So what? From that conclusion, does that mean they never should have contacted child welfare in the first place?
わかった？誰の目にも明らかな虐待の証拠がなかったらお手上げなんだよ。むしろ状況を悪化させかねない。
That sucks so much.
あれは失敗だった。
After hearing that even public organizations, the one thing they thought was dependable, couldn't do anything, everyone hung their heads.
つまり、誰の目にも明らかな虐待の証拠が見つかるまで通報すべきでないってことなんだね。
うん、まあそういうこと。
I considered Satoko's current situation. She was brought back to her house. It was a little difficult to call that abuse. She was being tormented and forced to do the chores. How was she being tormented would be the key, but without concrete evidence it would be difficult to prove. If she had some kind of external injury, that would work. But as far as we could tell from today, she had nothing like that. And being forced to do the chores, that was a bit weak too. That'd be better evidence that she was without a doubt being abused. I know. Her uncle ignored Sato's existence for a whole year and went to live with his lover in town. Didn't that fall under one of the definitions of abuse that Mion had mentioned? Child neglect? Yeah, neglected her for a whole year.
それは立派な育児放棄だね。どうなのみーちゃん。
おじが今もいなければ育児放棄は認定されそうだけど、今この瞬間は同居してるわけでしょ。
Man, but it's been a whole year though.
今までは別居だったけど、心を入れ替えて同居することにしたなんて言われたら、また様子見なんてことになりかねないよ。
And then at the end of that, it would just cause more problems for her. Once we reported it, we would need to be absolutely sure they'd interpret it as abuse. Maybe we needed far more concrete evidence, lest we repeat last year's
な
mistake.
んだか悲しい。ということはつまり、しばらくは黙って見てろってことなんだよね。
The only plan I could think of was, in the end, just watching and waiting. It left me in shock when I realized that it would be the same policy as that of the officials who had made the situation worse. As Mion said, reporting it to a public agency would be a gamble. If we're going to pick a fight, it would have to be the one we couldn't afford to lose. If we were gambling without enough money, without enough evidence, our defeat would be assured. If we took the time to amass enough money that we could be sure of victory, then that would mean pretending we didn't see Satoko's plight for a considerable amount of time. Yeah, 'cause it's
こん
gonna
な
take
と
a
ころ
while,
で
a
話
while,
を振ってご
man.
めんな。
It's gonna take a while to build up a case.
リカちゃんはどうして一人暮らしができるんだ？
Rikchan had lost her parents, if I recalled correctly. From what I'd heard, she had no relatives either. She was forced to live on her own as a result, but her life was unfettered, free of restriction. If she could somehow grant that freedom to Satoko too.
ほら、リカちゃんって両親いないのに生活してるだろ。保護者のいない子供って施設みたいなところに入れられちゃうんじゃないっけ？
圭一くん、それひどい。
悪口で言ってるんじゃねえよ。そこにサトコを救うヒントがあるかもしれないと思って聞いてみただけなんだ。
Yeah, like trying to figure out how she's able to live on her own, maybe use that as a
リカちゃん、
reasoning or something like
気
that.
分を害したならごめんな。
Rikchan shook her head, not particularly disturbed.
それはですね、実は村長さんちの子供になっているからなのです。
Interesting.
補足がいるね。村長の君吉のおじいちゃんが
Oh, okay.
リカちゃんの保護者なんだよ。
Got you. So the mayor is technically like her guardian now.
ちゃん
Got
と
it.
県
Okay.
知事の許可を得た正式な。
へえ、養子みたいなものか？
養子とは違う。別に籍を入れなくても保護者にはなれるんだよ。
Yeah, just like a legal
分
guardian.
かってきた。つまり、リカちゃんは普通に暮らしてるけど、法律の上では村長さんの家に住んでることになってるんだね。
まあそんなとこ。そのおかげでリカちゃんは保護者から離れての生活を認められているってわけ。サトコはそこに居候してるってことにな
As
る
a
けどね
freeloader.
難しいことはよくわかりませんが、つまりはそういうことなのです。
ミオ、今興味深いことを言ったな。席が違っても保護者になれるみたいなことを言ったよな。じゃあ形だけでも村長さんとかがサトコの保護者になってくれればいいんじゃないのか？
You probably have to. Her uncle would probably have to like sign away her rights though, and he's not going to do that. Then she'd be in the same position as Rika-chan, and she could go back to her old life.
ところがそうはいかないの。だっておじだって保護者のつもりなんだもん。
It's like he would have to literally give up
ちょっ
being
と待て。
her guardian.
わけがわからなくなったぞ。そもそも保護者ってなんだ？
In legal terms, a guardian and a parent weren't necessarily synonyms. So whoever was actually looking after her at home would be considered her
なら
guardian.
おじは保護者じゃないな。ずっとサトコをほったらかしにしてた。
Yeah, courts
で
don't
も
care
保護
though.
者だと主張されたらそれまでだよ。サトコが連れ戻されてから数日。その間の食事代はおじの財布から出てるよね。一応面倒を見てると主張できなくもない。それに1年間サトコをほったらかしたとはいえ でも村長にはその実績はない。
意地悪なおじさんと村長さんが同時に保護者を主張したら、おじさんの方が強いってこと？
Yeah, there wouldn't be anything they could do.
その可能性が高いってこと。それに保護者ってのは実際に面倒を見てる人を指すんだよ。実際に寝床や食事を握ってるおじと名義だけ貸そうとしてる村長じゃどうにもならない。
じゃあ村長が実際に生活の面倒を見ればいいじゃないか。そうすれば名実ともに村長が保護者になれるんだろう。
We just need to shelter Satoko. That might lead to her uncle being desperate to take her back, but will stubbornly refuse him.
そんな簡単にはいかないよ。
If only it would be that
サト
easy,
コは
man.
育ち盛りの女の子なんだよ。人間一人の面倒を見てくださいなんて猫の子預けるのとはわけが違う。
That's
じ
true.
ゃあ監督はどうだよ。監督ってよくは知らないけど裕福なんだろ。
He did say he wanted to adopt her. Like, I wish he
自
could.
分で言ってたくらいなんだし、本当の親でなくても保護者になれるなら監督でも可能なんだ。監督ならサトコの面倒を立派に見てくれる気がする。
You can hear the desperation in like Keiichi's voice while he's just trying to grasp at any straws that he can right now.
だからサトコをペットみたいに考えないでって。ケイちゃんはさっきからサトコを誰かに押し付ける話ばっかり。人間一人の生活の面倒を見る責任ってものをもっと慎重に考えて。監督に聞いたの。サトコを引き取って面倒を見るってちゃんと確約を得たわけ？
そんなの得てないよ。でも監督なら絶対に OK するだろ
う。まあいいよ。100歩譲って監督が OK したとするよ。でもダメなんだよ。保護者は独身じゃダメなんだよ。
That's oh yeah, because when he first mentioned that he wanted to adopt her, didn't he say that like you can't adopt somebody unless you're like married or something? Didn't he say it himself? He was alone, so yeah, exactly. Shit, what the hell? Why is being single such a disadvantage in this society? I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, smacks me in the face. Then all you could do is marry into a wealthy family, couldn't you? The dream.
Hinamizawaにそんなお金持ちはいるのかな？難しそう。
Well, Sanazaki's are. They're rich.
ね、簡単じゃないんだよ。人間一人引き取るってのは誰かに押し付けようなんて短絡的な考えがそもそもダメなの。考えが浅いんだよ、ケイちゃんは。
なんなんだよ、畜生俺は必死にサトコを救おうと考えてるのにダメだってそればっかり。
Yeah, at least
お
he's
前ら
trying.
本当はサトコのことなんかどうでもいいんだろ。
Don't say that,
仲
man.
間のこと本気で心配してないんだろ。
Alright, Keiichi deserves to get like slapped right
どう
now.
なんだよ。
そんなつもりないよ。でもそう簡単にはいかないっていうか。
And he's gotta remember that they've been through this
そんな
for
難し
years
い話じ
now.
ゃねえだろ。裕福な奴がサトコをしばらく面倒見てくれればいい。それだけのことだぞ。そうだ、ミオンチはどうだよ。お前御三家とかいう立派な家柄なんだって自慢してたよな。話じゃものすごいでかい家に住んでるそうじゃないか。
うち？無理。そんなのバチャが許してくれるはずない。
じゃあ沖宮に住んでる親はどうだよ。聞いた話じゃこっちもかなりの豪邸に住んでるらしいじゃないか。町には親類の経営する店がたくさんあるそうだし立派な資産家じゃないかよ。おい
Pretty much.
ダメ。沖宮の家なんてもっとダメ。うちのお父さんそんなの絶対に許さない。
おい普段は散々大物ぶりを自慢しといてここ一番でお呼び越しかよ。
You hear that the music in the background getting a bit
なん
more
なんだよ
intense.
お前サトコを見殺しにする気かよ。
そんなつもりはないけど、そりゃ私だってサトコは助けてやりたいよ。でもそれとこれじゃ話が
違うってのかよ。冷てえやつ。仲間の危機だろ。
Man,
こ
when she's
こで救わなかったら何なんだよ。
Keiichi's definitely in the
部
wrong
長だ
here.
ろ。部活の救えよ。仲間の危機をよ。今ここで救わなかったら仲間じゃねえ、人じゃね
Nah, he went way too far, man. Bro, you are so out of line right
え。お
now.
前の人間性が問われてるんだよ。聞いてるのかよ、ミオン。
My emotions all exploded out of me, and I didn't even give her a chance to say anything in response. I just wanted to make Mian agree with me even if I had to force her. If she did, Satoko's problems would be solved. I wish it was that easy. If pushing her would solve the issue, then I'd push her as much as I needed to.
何さっきから黙り込んでんだよ。聞いてるのかこの野郎。どうなんだよ。なんとか言ってるよ。その先見よ。
みー
Oh, Mian, look, I'm sorry, I got so into it, I just did not even read that, wow. So Mian just started crying. Her hands were clenched into trembling fists, and she rubbed her eyes to wipe away the tears. Was what I said actually that mean? Yes, dude, that was horrible to say. This isn't the time to cry. We're in the gambling room now, and we have to do something to save Satoko. And as I thought that, Rena spoke, her voice cold and incredibly calm.
ケイチくん、みーちゃんちがダメなら他の裕福な家を探したら？
Yeah, isn't Keiichi's family got money?
ひなみ沢に立派な豪邸建てて住んでる人。知っ
Rena
てるよ。
flipping it on him good.
誰だよ。
You
しらじら
dumbass.
しいよ。あれだけ立派な家に住んでて、自分の家だけは蚊帳の外。
俺んちかよ。俺の家は。
仲間なんでしょ？救ってよ、ケイチくんが。
I love that Rena's flipping this on him, man.
みーちゃんはダメだってさ、冷たいから。じゃあ仲間思いのケイチくんがお手本示さなきゃダメだね。
Rena's such a badass
あ
dude.
れだけ大きなお家に家族3人で住んでるんだっけ？じゃあ空き部屋なんかいくらでもあるよね。余ってるお部屋、いくつかさとこちゃんに分けてあげればいいじゃない。
And even just like the tone of her voice, you can tell it's a bit like sarcastic mixed in there.
それ
Like
でめ
she's
でた
kind
く
of
さとこ
mocking
ちゃんの
him.
悩
I
みは
love
解
it.
決。あら何？これでもう終わり？あっけない話だったね。はいはい解決、お疲れ様。じゃあもう今日はいい？
I love
私
this
帰る
so
ね。ランラン
much.
ラン。
I
今日
love
は
this so,
久しぶ
so
りに
much.
宝探しにでも行こうかな。昨日まではずっとさとこちゃんのことが心配で全然遊ぶ気になんかならなかったし、今日はどんな宝物が見つかるかな？はなんか言ってよ。
Oh my god, it just flipped on a dime, dude. I love it.
私だけ喋りずくめ？
She's so pissed off.
黙ってんじゃないわよ。聞いてんの？前原圭一。
Oh, she's really mad. Oh my god. Bro, her face. Oh my god. This is so intense. Even the cicadas seem to cower in fear. I would, dude. Damn. Rena, her shoulders bobbing up and down, and me, who had forgotten to breathe. Mian, whose face had gone completely pale, and Rika-chan, who was keeping silent as if nothing had happened. The atmosphere in the classroom grew tight and stiff, and it petrified us where we stood. Rattle. The sound of the chairs Rena sat back down after having stood up finally allowed everyone present to take a breath. Rena had shown me just how much I'd hurt Mian. Yet,
レ
what
ナ
a
が
dick move,
怖い
bro.
のです。
She's horrifying, bro. After a few moments, Rika-chan cut into the frozen air.
うん。ごめんね、リカちゃん。みーちゃんもごめん。ケイチくんには謝らなくてもいいよね。
ああ、ごめん。めちゃくちゃなこと言って悪かった。
さっきのあれ、私に言ってたの？みーちゃん睨みながら言ってたから、私てっきりみーちゃんに言ってるもんだとばかり思ってた。
Rena had such strength that you wouldn't have imagined it normally. All I did was spout terrible things as a wave of violent fury passed over me. I couldn't contend with her.
ミオン、ごめん。頭に血が上ってた。
Come to think of it, I didn't understand what had gotten me that riled up. I thought of myself as Satoko's Nini. So I only had good intentions that I'd think about it a little harder than everyone else, and yet...
うん、
It's a tense situation,
いいよ。
man.
私こそケイちゃんが一生懸命悩んでるのに。ごめんね。私も悪かった。
Mian rubbed away the tears at the corners of her eyes with her fists and apologized as well. We bowed our heads to each other and looked down without glancing at the other. Someone, I don't know who, heaved a sigh. Satoko being tormented had been known about since last year. How had the tragedy back then saved Satoko? How had they brought it to an end? Right. In the end, nobody could do anything. All they could do was bear it patiently and wait for those agonizing days to end. That's right. The one who brought an end to those terrible days was some crazy drug addict nobody knew. On the night of Watanagashi last year, their mean aunt had been beaten to death. But it hadn't been done to save Satoko or Satoshi. Right. It really was just a coincidence. I don't like, Keiichi, I don't like where your head's going with this, bro. Satoko's friends who needed to do something for her most of all could do nothing. The incident may have been a tragic one, but from Satoko's viewpoint, it was nothing less than a miracle. Yes, a miracle. A miracle one could only wait for.
待つしかないのかよ、俺たちには。
Not for evidence of abuse, not for something that minor.
何をかな。
奇跡。
No one made fun of me for using such a crazy word. We couldn't come up with any solutions, so it was the only thing we could do.
無力なんだよ、私たちは。
That's the hardest thing to admit sometimes when you're in a situation like this, is like you can't do anything. One word beyond dropped was the finishing blow. It was hot. My body was sticky with sweat. The worst month, June. Yeah, I think June's a really bad month for you guys. Just throwing that out there. It's been a bit rough. I walked forward quite a ways, then turned right where the rice fields ended. I'd never come here before, so I had no idea where to go. I got lost several times, so I may have taken quite a long way around. Maybe I should have gone back home and gotten my bike first. It would have made everyone else worry if I'd asked them, so I asked one of our other classmates where Satoko's actual house was. That house was originally your family's, apparently, not their uncle and his wife's. Their house had been bigger, so they had taken it for themselves. Rude. Right here. Several houses all in a line. Over there? I was visiting Satoko's house, but didn't particularly intend to meet her there. I didn't mean to spy on the enemy, her mean uncle, either. Maybe I just wanted to be a little closer to her, as her Nini. Oh, bro. Pretty words, but I didn't know if they were true. If what Tomita-kun and the others had told me was right, it'd be this house? When I recognized it, my feet grew heavy, and it actually looks like a nice house. What did I come here for? My motive for coming here was absurd. When Miana had said that at the end we were powerless, it made me sort of frustrated. I just wanted to do something, anything other than waste a day's rape praying for a miracle. That's what made me come here. But that was all. Even if I were to witness her uncle actually tormenting Satoko, what could I do? Would I act like a comic book hero, punch the guy in the face, and take Satoko away from me? Don't think so. And then live together somewhere far away? That was ridiculous.
無力だ。
The cicadas' voices raised in chorus sounded like they were scoffing at me, as though they were saying that if I couldn't do anything and wouldn't do anything, then I should go back home. Oh, I like that transition. I heard a car approaching, so I got out of its way. But the car stopped right behind me, its horn honking shortly once. Annoyed, hadn't I gotten out of their way? I looked behind me. A familiar face was looking at me out the driver's side window as Royo Oishi. Yeah, there's his car. Oh no, never mind.
こんにちは。
Oh,
前原さん。
I got worried there.
こんなところでお会いするとは本当に奇遇です。お家は近くなんですか？
Me being here wasn't normal. Just as I considered somehow giving him the slip, I noticed Satsuko sitting in the passenger seat. Aww.
サトコ？
She looks so sad, I hate it. Satsuko got out of the car and began unloading a lot of groceries from the trunk.
買い物の帰りに偶然監督にお会いしたんですのよ。
She looks so out of it, man.
送ってくださるというのでお言葉に甘えたのですわ。
自転車でこんなに買い物をしたら運びきれませんからね。
It was probably so draining for her, too, to put on her front like all day. As Coach spoke, he pulled Satsuko's bike from out the back seat where they'd put it. The grocery bags were big, and there were 4 of them. They all seemed to be packed full and very heavy.
この袋、セブンスマート？おいおい、自転車で行くにはちょっと遠すぎないか？
I looked at the bags and saw they were filled with the brim with sake bottles, snacks that you'd eat with sake, and a box of cigarettes. Why are they letting a child buy those things? Their weight was one thing, but their contents were nothing less than luxury items.
監督のおかげで助かりましたわ。ちょっと坂道は辛かったですから。
Satsuko gave Coach a smile filled with gratitude, but it was incredibly awkward and even heartrending.
サトコ、この買い物、今晩の晩飯ってわけじゃないだろう。
I would hope not.
当然ですわ。私お酒なんか飲めませんし、おつまみも嫌いですし、タバコなんか吸うわけ。
he made Satsuko go to a distant store by herself on her bike so she could buy dumb shit like this? And what was the uncle doing right now anyway? He must have been working up a good sweat this very moment if he needed to send Satsuko out by herself, right? If not, then how much had Satsuko suffered for no reason? I hadn't intended to voice my feelings, but they may have made it into my face. Coach might have noticed because he clapped me on the shoulder. Just then, one of the house windows clattered open, and the face of a vulgar man, the very sight of which made me immediately avert my eyes, emerged from within it. There were no self-introductions necessary. My gut told me that this was the uncle in question. The first thing out of his mouth should have been words of gratitude for Satsuko.
Satoko! 缶のガスかけっぱなしで出よったんな、この。
ごめんなさい。でも、すぐに買いに行けって言ったから。
やかましいわ。せっかくの近所台無しにしよってん。どうしよったんじゃ。
I hate him so much.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Satsuko miserably apologized over and over, bowing again and again. She could be perfectly described as a small animal. I had no idea what was happening. Satsuko finished shopping for all this heavy stuff that wasn't even for dinner. She only managed to come back because she ran into Coach and he drove her home. If she hadn't been found by him, she'd surely still be by herself, panting and moaning, pedaling her bicycle up that steep hill. What was with those words, those horrible sleazy words they said to Satsuko? In what country's dictionary did it tell him to say such things to a young girl who just finished shopping? He's a monster. It's no other reason. My anger, of course, wouldn't reach him. The uncle displayed no interest in me instead of shouting at Coach.
入江の先生じゃないですか。こんにちは。そしたら先生も上がっていきますか。もうオーラスですからすぐ入れますよ。ピンのワンツー、何でもありで。
Oh, they're playing cards or
いえ、遠慮します。さとこちゃんとは偶然お会いしたんで、ちょっとお送りしてあげただけです。すぐに失礼します。
そんな、ちょっとぐらいやっててくださいな。先生お金持ちじゃないですか。
That's why I want some. What a piece of garbage, man. I didn't even understand what her uncle and Coach were talking about. But I knew one thing for sure. None of what he just said had been to thank Satsuko in any way.
さとこ、とっととカキも持ってこんかい。ビールも冷めてもうた。冷蔵庫から冷えてるの出してくれな。
Pathetic.
てっちゃん、娘に厳しすぎや。もうちょいいたわらんとかわいそうやで。
あんな娘にゃ、兄貴んちにいた頃からそうでよ。甘やかすと親の言うことをなんも聞かんやっちゃよ。たく。
それよか、てっちゃんの妻だぜよ。
椿さんリーチしよったで。
おお、悪い悪い。なんね。椿、あんたまたリーチかいな。
It looked like it wasn't just her uncle. Some of his friends were over. They're playing. It sounds like they're playing mahjong. Hey, wait. What was he? No, what were they doing? Flinging rude words left and right, making Satsuko shopping for your beer. What were they doing?
町からおじさまのお友達が来てて、宴会やってますの。
Hate it.
お友達のお夕食もご用意するように言われてますのよ。
なんだよ、それ。
Sam, mahjong. He called his friends over for mahjong. They were too busy playing, so they sent Satsuko to buy them a crapload of booze from a faraway store. And the first thing he said to her was how she left the gas on. What the hell, what the hell, what the hell?
何やってんだよ、あいつ。麻雀って、そんなのに遊びほうけて、さとこにこんなの買いに行かせるのかよ。
A pure monster, my friend. Even though Coach was listening, he pretended he wasn't. There was a line of heavy-looking shopping bags lined up on the ground next to the trunk.
さあ、前原さんも手伝ってあげてください。ほら、男の子なんですから。
監督、こんなのまかり通っていいんですか。
Bro, there's nothing you can do.
こんなの絶対に。
Coach pretended he hadn't heard that violent outburst either. When I thought about it later, his reactions might have been the best thing he could do in that situation.
私も2つ持ちますから。ほら、前原さんも持つのを手伝ってあげてください。
The bags were packed to the brim with bottles of sake and bar snacks. They were so heavy, and so filthy, so unfair. They weren't just heavy in terms of weight, they made me feel mortified. Nothing could have been heavier than that.
ケイチさん、大丈夫ですのよ。自分で持ちますわ。
Sato mistook my biting back the humiliation as grimacing under the weight and offered to help.
バカ、俺を舐めるな。
Satoko had never looked down on my physical strength in the slightest. Gah.
監督もすみませんわね。重いでしょ？
Even like the voice actress is talking in like such a hushed, just sad tone. The voice actors for this are so good. No, not at all, answered Coach, smiling vaguely, coolly. But I alone, I knew. Coach was an adult, so he just knew how to keep his feelings from showing. There was even more anger than I was feeling, burning deep in his eyes.
いや、重いですね。
Shit. Wasn't very far to the doorstep of Satoko's house, but the bag squeezed my palms and started leaving red marks. Fully welled up in me and the back of my throat stung. But even if it all came gushing out, it wouldn't solve anything. It would just make everything worse. So, just tightly gritting my teeth was as much as I could do.
本当にありがとうございますですわ。監督も圭一さんも。おかげで本当に助かりましたでございます。
After we carried them to the back door, Satoko said that was enough. Occasionally, we'd hear the repulsive laughing of her uncle and his friends from within, and my insides would seethe. I knew they weren't ridiculing us, and that was why it made me so mad. They'd made Satoko shop for all this heavy, selfish stuff, then ignored her and laughed amongst themselves as they pleased. It was deeply aggravating. Of course, Coach had to have felt the same way. But if he accidentally let those feelings slip into his face, he'd only cause Satoko more worry. He knew all that, and spoke coolly, as if to say he didn't care.
いいえ、ささやかでもお力になれたなら、お手伝いできそうなことがあったらいつでも言ってくださいね。
ええ、お気持ちだけでも本当に嬉しいですわ。
That he feels that way. Those words were sad. Satoko herself was sad and resigned that we could only help her so much. But she was right. No matter how much Coach or I wanted to help Satoko, this was as much as we could do. I felt absolutely ashamed at not having the power to help her any more than this. Burning, boiling emotions were bubbling up within me and rising into my throat. Trembling all over, I almost started to cry from my fury.
俺も力になれることがあったらいつでも力を貸すから、その頑張れよな。
I wanted to at least give her those trite words saying that I'd help her whenever she wanted. At least it's a small, just the only thing you can do in this situation right now, honestly.
わざわざこうしてここまで来てくださっただけでも嬉しかったですわ。
Satoko seemed to have guessed what I was doing in a place like this, when my house was in the opposite direction from school.
さあ、もう行った方がよろしいですわ。今は酔っ払ってますから、どんな難癖をつけられるかわかりませんわよ。
She felt guilty getting us involved after we'd help her, because she wanted to be the only one to suffer this misfortune. That's how it looked, and it hurt. I handed my supermarket bag over to Satoko, and then I noticed on the back of Satoko's hand, there's something that looked like a bruise.
おい、サトコ、お前まだ熱が。
I knew as much as anyone else how transparent that sounded. I didn't need to hear it from Satoko to know how this bruise came to be.
今年の夏風邪はなかなかしつこいようですわね。気になさらないでくださいませ。
嘘だろ。
Coach nudged me in the back. And then he put his index finger to his mouth to chide me for being so loud.
本当にありがとうございましたですわ。では明日、学校でお会いできるといいですわね。
そんな話してないだろ。
Kiichi, just stop, bro.
その手のあざはどうしたって聞いてるんだよ。
Shut up. You're not making things better. The evening glow finally got to a point where I could see the other concealed oval-shaped bruises and traces of swelling. On her neck and her legs, and other places too.
階段から落ちたんですのよ。
The very moment my violent, rampaging emotions were about to burst their way out of my throat, I found my mouth being tightly clamped down on. Yeah, the coach definitely had to hold him at that point. coach was pressing down on my mouth from behind, wrapping around me tightly with his hands. Because of that, I couldn't say anything. I could only groan, which I did. That was all I could do. I needed to expel all the magma sitting deep within me, because otherwise I'd surely explode into a million pieces at that very moment. So I groaned. I groaned from my mouth, from my whole body, while heat fell in drops from my eyes. I groaned and groaned. I groaned to the point of exhaustion. God, you can just hear the desperation, man. I wrung absolutely everything out of myself. Even having lost my voice, I was still wringing it all out.
気持ちはわかります。わかりますから、前原さん。今だけこらえてください。お願いですから、前原さん。
Endure it for now. And then what? What would happen to her, to Satsuko? But there's nothing you could do right now. That's the hardest part. Like, it would just make it worse if you said anything. Her body and mind were wounded, and she was being made to suffer like this. Can you not even let me howl in vain at it? Is that it, coach? Are we this powerless? So powerless that we can't even fucking scream from the bottom of our hearts? Whoa. God, this is getting real, man. I think that's the first time they've used the F word in this whole game. And for a moment like this, it makes perfect sense. This is like out of everything that's happened in this game, so in the series so far, like, this is probably the most, like, even with everything, man, it's probably like the most, you know, just raw, just pure emotion. And it sucks so much. The voices of the Higurashi made me calm down. I didn't know how long it had been. Satsuko abruptly gave a slight bow.
ありがとうございますですわ、ケイチさん。
さとこ。
今、ケイチさんが本当のニーニーみたいに見えました。私の本当のニーニーはいなくなってしまったけど、私にはケイチさんというニーニーがいてくれる。
That's gonna break his heart, man. That is gonna crush him so much.
そうだ。俺がお前のニーニーだ。お前が辛い時絶対に助けてやるから。ニーニーがサトコをきっと助けてやるからな。
Satoshi Hojo, you fucking idiot. If not now, then when? Satsuko, she's never been in more pain in her life. If her Nini doesn't save her now, then when will he? Why'd you run away? Why'd you abandon her? Why'd you leave Satsuko behind? You don't have any right to call yourself Satsuko's Nini.
俺は逃げないからな。
え？
絶対に逃げない。サトシみたいにお前を見捨てて逃げたりしない。
I know he's saying it with good intentions, but it's not the thing to say right now.
絶対に俺はお前を見捨てない。
Slip. Tears trickled down from Satsuko's eyes. And then she narrowed her eyes into a smile.
さよなら、ニーニー。
Satsuko took her right hand and awkwardly waved at me.
大丈夫ですわ。今のニーニーので、私、いっぱい力をもらいましたから、大丈夫。明日まで頑張れますから、大丈夫。だから、今日はさよならでございますわよ。
There was no way that I could say bye, see you tomorrow. And then from inside the house came a throaty, disgusting voice.
さとこ、はよ乾きも持ってこんかい。
さあ、ニーニー、早く行ってくださいませ。もう、私は大丈夫ですから、早く。
行きましょう、前原さん。これ以上はかえってさとこちゃんに迷惑をかけます。
監督、ニーニーのお家はちょっと遠いんですの。申し訳ございませんが、送ってあげていただけます？
She's definitely like grasping onto that as, you know, Keiichi being her brother now, because she has, normally she would, you know, say his name, but she's just been calling him Nini like ever since he said that, so I think that's just gonna stick.
ええ、 わかりました。
Coach grabbed me by my collar and with strength I couldn't have imagined him having, started dragging me away. And I, unable to oppose him, started getting farther away from Satoko. She waved her hands to us, expression still dark, and disappeared through the back door. Coach got into the car first, then turned around on the narrow path and brought the passenger side door around for me.
前原さんの気持ちは痛いくらいにわかります。いえ、前原さん以上にでも、今この場だけはこらえてください。あなたの心は確かに伝わりましたから。だから、こらえてください。でないと。
もう、わかってます。すみません。さっきはありがとうございました。
I meekly got into the passenger seat. Car accelerated quietly and Satoko's house grew farther and farther away in the rearview mirror. We made a wide turn and then I couldn't see her house anymore.
え？あなたのお家、そんな遠くなんですか？学校の反対側じゃないですか。
I didn't bother to reply. I would have been hard pressed to give him an answer as to why I was at Satsuko's house. Coach didn't say anything more either. For a while, the two of us were silent, the only sounds from the gravel spraying over the road as we drove. I remembered how Rena said things were different than last year. At the time, she had Satoshi with her. Satoshi protected Satoko, so that less of the sparks fell onto her.
でも今は、サトシはいない。
はい、残酷ですが、それが事実です。
Coach seemed to understand what I really meant when I said
悲
that.
しく、あまりに残酷な話ですが、私たちの決意や努力、尽力には限界があります。
It sounded like an excuse, but he was right. Even if Coach and I wanted to be people Satsuko could depend on, that was all. It ended at the front door. No matter how much I shouted that I would be her Nini, no matter how much I shouted that I wouldn't abandon her, and no matter how much Satsuko called me Nini, I couldn't do any more than that.
サトシは一体どこに行っちまったんですか？
Right, Satoshi was another story. Her actual brother, Satoshi. He was in position to protect her far, far better than we ever could. That was the cold, sad truth of the massive gulf between Satoshi and
今
us.
頃、どこでどうしているんでしょう。
Satoshi left home. I didn't know why. Maybe it was because of Oyashiro-sama's curse, or he disappeared, or something. In any case, he wasn't beside Satsuko now. At the time Satsuko needed him to protect her most, he wasn't here.
どうして今ここにいないんですか？一番守ってやらなければならないこの時に。
お社様のたたりがどうとか、家出したとしか言えません。
ある日を境に帰ってこないって仲間が言ってました。妹の聡子に書き置き一つ残さずに家出を。
サトシ君はコツコツとアルバイトをしてたんです。聡子ちゃんが当時とても大きなぬいぐるみを欲しがってましてね。結構いい値段らしくて、そのためにアルバイトをいろいろとしていたらしいんです。妹思いの兄でしたからね。おじ夫婦のもとで不憫な生活を強いられている妹に少しでも立派な誕生日プレゼントを贈ろうとしているんじゃないかってみんなささやき合っていました。
In the end, he didn't use his savings for a birthday present for Satsuko.
サトシ君がいなくなり、警察がいろいろと調べたら、サトシ君の貯金が当日すべて本人によって下ろされていることが分かりました。方々をいろいろと調べた結果、その貯金を資金に東京の方に行ったんではないかということに
Damn,
な
he
りま
must have
し
saved
た。
up a lot then.
東京？何しに？
家出としか言いようがないじゃないですか。
自分が逃げ出すための資金をコツコツと貯めて、そこまでは勝手ですよ。でも聡子を置いてくことはないじゃないですか。同じ家出するなら聡子も連れて行くべきだった。
Even now, Coach was still calm. He wasn't trying to pour any oil on the fire of my anger at all. He just waited until my anger naturally subsided. After listening to gravel being crushed under the wheels for a little while, Coach spoke abruptly.
察してください。置いていかれた聡子ちゃんも同じ考えに至ったんです。
I'm a burden on my brother, and that's why he abandoned me. He didn't take her with him when he left. How terrible must Satsuko have felt being betrayed by the brother she loved so much.
でも、聡子ちゃんはとても強い人でした。 もちろん親しい友人たちの支えもあってのことでしたが、ああして笑顔を取り戻すことができました。
I recalled how Satoko had spoken of Satoshi so brightly when I was eating dinner with her and Rika-chan a few days ago. It's only been a few days, man. That's the craziest part, dude. Like, all this happened in a span of just a couple of days. At the time, I didn't think any more of it than how pleasant their sibling love had been. But now that I did think about it, I realized it was like she was peering into the distance from atop a pile of tragic perseverance.
サトシ君はきっと帰ってくる。その時までにお荷物じゃなくなった自分を見てほしいって。
サトコはお荷物なんかじゃないですよ。あいつ俺なんかよりよっぽど生活力はあるし、大抵のことは何だってできる。そりゃレナやリカちゃんなんかと比べれば劣る点はたくさんあるかもしれないけど、そこいらのやつよりよっぽど一人前ですよ。
サトシ君がいつ帰ってきてもいいように、そういう風になれるよう努力した結果です。
Yeah, man, kids in situations like that, they gotta grow up quick. It sucks. I've been there.
涙ぐましい努力があったんですよ。
While she lived with Rika-chan, while Rika-chan taught her how to handle everything flawlessly, also that she could welcome back Satoshi at any time, so that she could show him she wasn't ashamed.
で、そのサトシはいつ帰ってくるんですか？
I asked Coach, but he knew he wouldn't be able to answer. In any case, Satoshi ran away. He left Satoko and ran away from Hinamizawa. Someone said that when you leave Hinamizawa and run away, Oishiro-sama's curse gets you, right? Then that made sense. Satoshi running away and his disappearance. That would obviously mean people thought it was the curse, right? And they could smile, as though it were his own fault, so he got what he deserved. Hey, Oishiro-sama, whoever you are. Satoshi didn't vanish because he ran away. You demoned him away with your curse, didn't you? That's not what happened, then I won't forgive you.
サトシはいつ頃に？
去年の綿流しのお祭りの夜、おばが異常者に殺されて、その数日後のサトコちゃんの誕生日にです。
サトコの誕生日に？
Oof. I slammed my hands on the dashboard in front of me with all my might. Satoshi, of all the days, you could have chosen to run away. Their aunt just died a few days before, didn't she? All your days of suffering were about to end, weren't they? You were just about to start thinking about a new life, weren't you? It's wrong to be happy about someone dying, but for Satoko and her brother, her birthday had come at a critical turning point. Their mean uncle had fled town and the siblings would be left alone. They should have been able to be happy about that. On Satoko's birthday. Satoko was probably waiting for her brother to return the whole time. Waiting for her brother to return when he never did. Waiting with bated breath for her brother to return, her hopes and dreams of a new life to come growing ever larger. But no matter how long she waited, he didn't come back. He didn't even contact her. Satoko trembling in anticipation of a great present, just when would she have to face the cold, terrible truth? Satoshi, fucking idiot. I can feel my blood rising to my head in my anger at Satoshi. I was frustrated. I was aggravated. I couldn't forgive him. Satoko still respected and adored her brother, and yet he so heartlessly betrayed her. Such a person wouldn't just come back. Now, when he was most needed. Yes, no one would protect her. Not even her real brother Satoshi.
だから、あなたがニーニーだと認めてもらえて
Aw.
嬉しかったです。
え？
私もサトコちゃんの幸せを祈る一人ですが、社会的立場があり、日中は仕事をしている身です。私がサトコちゃんのために割いてあげられる時間は少ない。でもあなたは違います。学校で生活を共にし、サトコちゃんやサトシ君とも年はほとんど離れていない。あなたは自分ができることに限りがあると思っていますが、それでも私よりはずっとサトコちゃんに手を差し伸べられる場所にいるのです。だから私の分までサトコちゃんの力になってあげてほしい、そう願っています。
そんなことは監督だって。
もちろん年季のある私だからこそできる助けだっていろいろあると思います。同じようにあなたにしかできない助けだってあるということです。私たちは互いにそれを全うすべきだと 申し上げたいのです。
Is that a little too complicated? That's a lot to put on him, but like, I don't know. It just sucks, man. Coach added that, but I shook my head in response. When I heard him say he had job skills, it reminded me that he was an adult in a different position from all of us. Maybe I should ask him about it.
監督は法律とか詳しいですか？
いえ、平均的に疎いですが、何か？
I thought back to when I argued with Mion and the others about Satoko. Our children's argument only left us with the conclusion that we had to wait and see, but what did an adult think?
児童福祉法でしたっけ？児童の安全を確保するために緊急措置として
Right.
親子を分離させるという方法があるそうです。
緊急措置？じゃあすぐに聡子をおじの元から救い出せるということじゃないですか。
聡子ちゃんがそれを望まないかもしれません。
聡子が望まない？どうして？
Coach didn't answer me. I didn't know why he didn't. It was clear as day that Satoko's uncle was being violent and treating her like a slave. So then why? I clamped down on my frenzied emotions and waited intently for Coach to answer, but he never did. It wasn't like he was pretending he hadn't heard me. If I had to say, it was more like he wanted to explain, but couldn't put it into right words.
聡子ちゃんは多分そういう仕打ちに耐えるのを試練だと考えているかもしれません。
試練？変な宗教じゃあるまいし。
ご存知と思いますが、サトシ君は聡子ちゃんをずっとかばってきました。聡子ちゃんもずっとサトシ君に頼ってきました。甘えてきたと言うべきかもしれません。
I'd known for a while that Satoshi had always protected Satoko from their aunt and uncle. That was his duty as an older brother, not something to worry
それ
about.
がトラウマになったかもしれないんですよ。自分が兄にもたれかかりすぎたから、兄が自分を嫌ってしまったんではないか。
Yeah, and she kind of correlated that with her, like, needing his help. So that's why he left, because he got so frustrated with her. But... And now, like, she needs to learn how to handle it like he was for him to come back. Makes... Logically, it doesn't make sense, but mentally thinking about that, it makes perfect sense. And for Satoko, the current situation was a retelling of the story of a little over a year ago. But this time, Satoshi wasn't here.
だから誰にも頼らずに自分の力だけで試練を乗り越えたい。そういう力を身につけなければサトシ君は帰ってこない。そういう考えになっていると私は考えます。
Now that he mentioned it, Satoko had never said a word about how hard it had been before. I figured she was being threatened not to talk about it,
み
but
んなと相談して児童相談所とかに通報すべきかなんて話をしてました。
聞いてますよね。昨年も福祉士さんが聡子ちゃんのところに行ってるのは。
はい、結局様子見で余計にいじめられたって話も。
あれ、聡子ちゃんが自分で通報したらしいんです。で、その結果余計いじめが水面下へ移行してエスカレートした。
yeah, so that's gonna make her not want to even try again.
聡子ちゃんに降りかかるいじめも増え、それをかばうサトシ君の負担も著しく増えた。
ひょっとしてサトコそれ通報した自分の責任だなんて思ってるんじゃ。
She absolutely is. Coach nodded
多
quietly.
分聡子ちゃんに通報の話をするととても嫌がるか、その必要はないと強がりを言うと思います。聡子ちゃんに内緒で通報したとしても福祉士に対して自分は虐待を受けていないと言い張るでしょうね。
Satoko always acts tough and doesn't readily admit defeat, so I could imagine that
一
easily.
応児童相談所には裁判所の許可も当事者の許可も一切不要で緊急措置ができる強い権限があるんだそうです。虐待が公然の事実なら聡子ちゃんが否定しても身柄は強制的に保護されるでしょう。それは聡子ちゃんにとっては負けを意味するものなのかもしれませんが。
勝ち負けの問題じゃないですよ。サトコは現実に。
Yeah, but that's how she's thinking in her head.
身柄が保護されると所定の施設に送致されます。そうするとですね、そこで暮らすことになるので、つまり引っ越しということになります。ですから、学区変更で転校にもなります。
転校は仕方ないです。 それであいつが保護されるなら。
聡子ちゃんはその辺の事情も知っています。だからますます保護を望みます。
Yeah.
どうして？
あの家でサトシ君の帰りを待つのが聡子ちゃんの生きる理由でもあります。兄に捨てられた少女が何に生きる理由を見出したか、あなたのでなく聡子ちゃんの価値観で考えてあげてください。
Yeah, it's just rough. Felt like he was trying to confuse me with that hard to understand roundabout way of talking so unique to adults. Point was, they couldn't do anything about Satoko wanting to stay in that house, and that I should watch until she gives in. In the end, no matter what I said, Coach himself was saying to wait and see.
俺はわかりませんよ。
Sucks that that's what they have to do.
俺は本当に聡子が危ないと感じたら誰の意思も聞かずに行動します。その結果、聡子は不快な思いをして最終的にはそれが聡子の幸せにつながると信じます。
Coach turned to me and gazed fixedly into my eyes. It was written all over his face. He was shocked at what such a young kid had said.
どうしてあなたはそこまで。
Coach, no, rather, normal adults might not have understood. So I taught him the creed and the values that I believed in.
聡子は俺の仲間だから。そして俺は聡子のニーニーだから。では理由は足りませんか？
I stared at him with a will strong and unbreakable as steel as his eyes betrayed a tiny bit of unrest.
いえ、足りないなんてことはありません。
We were silent for a little while until finally Coach said only that.
誓ったじゃないですか、俺たち。
すみません。
聡子を
Promise?
絶対に泣かせないって。
We made a vow on, oh, that's right, made a vow on that day of the barbecue party. I didn't think about it hard at all, but Coach and I still made a promise that we wouldn't ever let Satoko cry. Coach gave a dry grin of regret, immediately apologizing for not remembering. One way or another, when he grinned like that, it made me think that his enthusiasm for saving Satoko was a tiny bit smaller than mine. He lightly hit the brakes, making a skidding noise, and my whole body suddenly fell forward.
ひょっとして前原さんのお家ってあれですか？ああ、前原屋敷が前原さんのお家だったんですね。
Makes sense. Put two and two together. Before I knew it, we were almost to my house. Is that where it's gonna end, man? What a freaking chapter. That was such a heavy chapter. Oh my god. Alright, just one tip. December 1st, 1981. Prefecture Juvenile Welfare Division Report. Do not view, do not duplicate. Case 31, November 20th. Satoko Hojo, blank years old. Residence, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibane. Consultation circumstances. Anonymous telephone SOS of child abuse. Abuse situation. Anonymous claims that female child is suffering physical abuse by adoptive parents or guardians. Family structure, circle marks abusers. Adoptive father, adoptive mother, older brother, child in question. No, in June 1980, the child's parents died in an accident and she was given to her uncle on her father's side, her father's younger brother. 4. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of the anonymous telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked for a situation. The next day, the welfare officer on duty visited the child's home and heard what they had to say. Both adoptive parents agreed to the center's coaching. Contacted anti-abuse network in the city. As part of the suggested coaching, a district welfare officer in the area began visiting for coaching at fixed intervals. Scrawled note below is stapled to report. Related information from former official Mr. W. Referred to 1977 document D2-3, number 44. Ask Chief Investigator F from the city's education consultation offices. He is well informed about it. Yeah, man, that was a heavy chapter, to say the least. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking this fun journey with me. It's great. Yeah, getting some heavy stuff for sure. So I don't know what the next part's gonna bring, but look forward to it. You know, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and just keep an eye out for it. Man, I'm gonna go just be a emotional, sad wreck after this. All right, let's keep being kind to each other, you guys. Bye.